Hi and welcome once again to Carlton Black Ops King, your friendly neighbourhood ex-spook, who's here to give you another quick blog about things that are happening, going on, circumstances. Clearly the biggest thing happening still all the way until the 29th. And by the way, way beyond that, 29th of March and way beyond, is going to be Brexit. Two factors come to play in that. One is that one needs to know and understand that come the 29th, even if we did leave, and it is an if, with a no deal or even a deal, that isn't the end of it. People need to understand this. Once we leave, there's then the deals that have to be made concerning what any treaty will be. So that's a treaty with the EU about what goods we can or can't sell, how we can sell them, what will happen, various other allied matters, because as you may or more likely may not know, that we're not just talking about treaties in terms of trade. The EU is a political organisation and position, and that's why much of our regulations, much of what we do, much of how we function, in fact, practically every detail of how we function is tied with the EU. So tied with the 27 other countries that made the EU. So let's always get this straight. When people talk about the EU leave things till the last moment, that meant we left things till the last moment because we were part of that EU apparatus. And that's what we were part of politically and organisationally and obviously economically and security-wise and militarily. So this is the whole point. So two things I want to touch on very, very quickly. One is for all you guys who have criminal records. Now, the latest information from the Home Office in England and Wales is that something like a third of all Brits have a criminal record. That's probably British males. I reckon in Scotland it's probably going to be about the same, and in Northern Ireland would be the same too. So if you look at the whole of the United Kingdom, probably around about that 33%, 30% would have some type of criminal record. Now, of course, right now, all of these people with criminal records can travel wherever they want within the European Union. So that's the other 27 countries: Spain, Italy, France, Germany, Luxembourg, Cyprus, Malta, Greece. So you go on your holidays, it's no great shakes. You just basically go wherever you want to go. Why? Because you're a citizen of the European Union. And so you can't stop. It'd be like trying to stop somebody moving from Manchester to Edinburgh. You can't stop somebody moving within their own country, which effectively that's what it was. So you guys with criminal records, no problems. You could go across borders with our other sister brother countries, and we could just flow in and out, no problem. Of course, that means that people with criminal records from the European Union can move backwards and forwards from whichever country they came from and move into Britain as they can move into France or Germany or wherever else. Now, why do I say that? Because what happens often is that people only realise how bad a criminal record is, and that could be for anything, it doesn't have to be for something major. Bad a criminal is when they want to travel to the United States or they want to travel to Canada and they realise they can't get a visa. Right. What is likely to happen for you now is that you won't be able to travel on your Spanish holiday or your French holiday or your holiday to Greece or your holiday to Malta or Cyprus either. Because what is highly likely going to be the case is that the UK will say it doesn't want foreign criminals, which will then be foreign because they'll no longer be part of us as in the EU. It doesn't want criminals from wherever in the EU coming to Britain. So what will happen is there will be a reciprocal perspective from the EU, and the EU will say, well, your criminals can't come to us either. And we will know they are criminals because of the record systems which we've had in place over the last 10, 15, 20 years. So we know who's a criminal and who isn't because they show up when you put your passport into the reader in any of these countries. So that person from the Policía Nacional, or from the Bundespolizei in Spain, or from the Bundespolizei in Germany, or from the Police de Air, Sea and Land in France, they will know automatically that this person has a record, and if the reciprocal process is in, which I believe it will be, because we won't want their criminals to us, they'll say, sorry mate, you can't come here. And that can also go for people who are actually living in the country. So those guys that happen to be living in Spain with criminal records, they might find that they then are told, sorry, we don't want you in Spain anymore. These are some of the aspects that people have not thought about when they voted to Brexit. So just one area. Another area where I'm at it very, very quickly, which is as problematic, is in terms of our economy and how presently things are going. So we've heard that our various companies like Airbus, Ford, obviously the Japanese companies who are stationed here, and German companies are talking about moving their company headquarters out of Great Britain to Europe. And that will be the case, I would suggest to you. So when we say, example, they'll want to sell their German cars here, well, the reality of the situation is that we don't sell any cars, make any cars that we can buy that are not from those countries. So, frankly, there isn't a British mass-produced car maker. There isn't. There's no such thing. I know you can hear an advert see it on TV and hear it on the radio where it says Vauxhall, a British marque since 1901. That's rubbish. They're basically saying it's a British brand, which is the terminology they use, not marque. What that actually means is, though, that it's something that we know of in Britain. It's not British owned, not British owned by a long way. Germans and the French own it. And the same goes for Mini. Mini's not a British car, it's BMW. The same goes for Land Rover. The same goes for Jaguar, which is an Indian company. So what cars are we going to buy if we don't buy these cars that are on offer? So that's why they're not knocking down Angela Merkel's door. They're not going to tell you this. The BMW isn't going to openly stand up and say, oh, we don't care. But BMW knows that you've got no choice here in Britain but to buy a foreign car, because British car companies, there's no such thing as a mass-produced British-owned car company. No such thing. Doesn't exist. Very lastly, the other thing that I'm hearing the ERJ say all the time, this what I would call crazy group in the Conservative Party, that are basically the European Research Group, the ERG, that's basically saying we can get on well just on WTO rules and there's no problem, and we should never take leaving the European Union off the table without because it's our bargaining chip. It's a bargaining chip so the Europeans don't know what we have to offer. That's a nonsense. Let me tell you something as somebody who's worked in government, civil service, the police, intelligence service. Let me tell you something that I know as a fact. Many European Union civil servants have worked in Britain. These civil servants have been seconded to British. A good friend of mine, example, was seconded to the Home Office from Germany. The guy worked in a higher echelon post in the Home Office, so had access to everything the Home Office was doing. Others have worked in the Foreign Office, others have worked in the Treasury, others have worked in... So from the 27 other countries, very, very many European Union citizens have worked in Britain in the higher echelons of our government, our civil service and our various bodies, right? Why? Because we're in unity. Now, of course, our people had the same opportunity to work in their countries to understand how they functioned. The big problem for Brits was that very, 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 very few Brits spoke foreign languages. So therefore, they couldn't go and work in the German civil service or in the French civil service or in the Slovak or Czech civil service because they didn't have the language. But these guys from Czech Republic, Slovak Republic, France, Greece, wherever, had the English language to come and work in Britain. That's why you see them working in the health service here, because they've got the English language. So they actually know what Britain is capable of. So when you're hearing people say, oh, we shouldn't take things off the road because it's our bargaining chip. No, it isn't a bargaining chip. They know exactly what the capability of the United Kingdom is because they've worked here at the highest levels of government and understand what the UK can and can't do. And if in fact has negotiated with UK, EU negotiators for all of the EU, so it's very assured and very understanding of what our capabilities are. This is one of the things that people don't understand. It's not like a normal negotiation whereby, let's say it was Ford against, let's say, VW. You could argue that Ford didn't know what VW were planning. No, for 40 years we've been in each other's soup. And the Europeans have been in our soup more than we've been in theirs. So they know exactly what Great Britain's capabilities are and exactly how badly the UK will be affected by leaving without a deal. So please do not fall for that nonsense. So anyway, as per usual, that was me giving you a quick overview, quick understanding, a couple of things that came to mind us leaving the European Union, a couple of things you may not have thought about. As I said, as per normal, if you want to subscribe, hit the bell below and subscribe to me and you get my latest informative pitches as they come out. People call them blogs. Or if you just have a question, as has been the case on the last couple of blogs that I've done, and you want to write it down below, please do, and I'll answer them as I did with the previous ones. Thanks a lot. See you again, guys. See you next time.